Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm David Kerr from Lansing in Michigan, and these are your latest news headlines from around the world. More than 60 migrants from Senegal are feared dead after Spanish fishermen rescued a boat near the Cape Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa. It's thought that the vessel initially had more than 100 people on board. However, the International Organisation for Migration report that 7 dead bodies were discovered aboard, while 56 others are thought to be missing at sea. As many as 38 people were reportedly saved earlier this week near the location. It's thought that the migrants were attempting to make the hazardous journey from Senegal to Spain's Canary Islands off the coast of northwest Africa, which can then serve as a bridge to continental Europe. More than 100 people have been arrested in Pakistan after a Muslim mob vandalised several churches and set fire to scores of Christian houses in the Jaranwala area of Faisalabad on Wednesday. The violence was sparked by claims that 2 Christian men had torn pages from a copy of the Quran. In response, the local authorities have banned all public gatherings for 7 days. The violence has already been condemned by Pakistan's Prime Minister. Meanwhile, the brother of the late Catholic politician Shahbaz Bhatti, who was martyred in 2011, has also condemned the attacks. Paul Bhatti told Vatican News that it is unacceptable that people should take the law into their own hands. The leaders of religious orders in West Africa say any foreign military intervention in Niger could make the situation in the country worse. Last month saw the elected president of Niger, Mohamed Bazoum, deposed in a military coup. Now members of the Regional Conference of Major Superiors of West Africa say that other forms of intervention should be considered in addressing the Niger crisis rather than military intervention. Their comments are in response to the decision by the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, to order the deployment of a regional military standby force to restore constitutional order in Niger. ECOWAS is the regional political and economic union of 15 countries located in West Africa. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights says that human rights abuses by North Korea's regime against their own people cannot be seen in isolation from larger peace and security challenges on the Korean peninsula. Volker Turk briefed the UN Security Council on Thursday on a number of human rights violations, noting that many of them stem directly from the increasing militarization of the country. He also claimed that thousands of North Korean asylum seekers face the danger of being forcibly sent home, where they might be subjected to torture and indefinite confinement. 2 Catholic preschools are suing the state of Colorado after they were rejected from a state-funded tuition aid program that gives impoverished families school choice. St Mary's Catholic Parish and St Bernadette's filed a lawsuit on Wednesday after the state blocked them from the universal preschool program. The schools wanted to participate in the program, but as they went through the application process, they say they realised that the state's non-discrimination policies conflicted with their religious beliefs. The schools are being represented by the Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty. A new poll suggests that most Americans are disappointed with how the administration of President Joe Biden is handling the US economy. The Associated Press and NORC Centre for Public Affairs Research released their poll on Thursday. It suggests that only 36% of Americans approve of the way the president is handling the economy. That is lower than his overall approval rating of 42%. The survey also suggests that 55% of Democrats believe that President Biden should not run for a second term in office, although 82% of them said they'd still vote for him if he did. Sudan's rebel rapid security forces are systematically using rape to terrorise the communities they control. That's the conclusion of a new report issued by the Human Rights Watch this week. The rapid support forces and Sudan's military leadership began a lengthy struggle for control of the country 4 months ago. The conflict has already resulted in thousands of deaths and millions of forcible displacements. The US State Department has condemned the recent government confiscation of a Catholic university in Nicaragua. The State Department says it deplores the seizure of the Universidad Central Americana, which is run by the Society of Jesus. It added that the seizure of the university represents a further erosion of democratic norms by Nicaragua's authoritarian regime, which is led by President Daniel Ortega and his wife Rosario Murillo as vice president. A Brazilian mother has been fined and threatened with losing custody of her son for educating him at home and instilling Christian values. The incident occurred in Santa Catarina state in Brazil when Regiana Cichalero decided to educate her 12-year-old son at home due to the coronavirus pandemic and the closure of public schools in 2020. The legal advocacy organisation Alliance Defending Freedom International has now taken up her cause and has filed a legal appeal to defend her rights. A human rights watchdog is accusing the British government of making slow progress in improving the lives of disabled people. In a new report submitted to the United Nations, the UK's Equality and Human Rights Commission warned that many disabled people are facing discrimination in the United Kingdom, and that situation could get worse. The EHRC report also assesses the extent to which previous recommendations of the UN have been implemented. It also says that there has been no progress in monitoring the impact of welfare reforms or access to justice for disabled people. In India, the National Commission for Women has voiced concern over the increasing trafficking of girls and women in the country. The organisation say that greater awareness needs to be spread among women and girls so that they do not fall into such traps. The Member Secretary for the National Commission, Meenakshi Negi, says that the Commission is trying to train police personnel, customs officers and members of the Central Industrial Security Force to help stem the trafficking of girls and women. While pointing out the difficulties faced by the agencies in preventing the crime, Ms. Neji says that the trafficking is happening by road, train, ship and even by air. Canada's Northwest Territories is bearing the brunt of wildfires, which are forcing local residents to flee by air and road. Authorities are warning that the blazes are inching closer to the capital of Yellowknife. They're now appealing to residents of Yellowknife to evacuate by Friday. Canada is currently going through its worst wildfire season in recent history, with more than 1,000 active blazes across the country, with more than 200 of those fires taking place in the Northwest Territories alone. Well, that's your latest news for now. Do join us for more tomorrow. You can also join us at swnews.org for news updates. Shalom.